Alright, hello people, welcome. So this was a request. I've been looking at playing with this foam clay. This is like Crayola Model Magic, but this is an off-brand. So it's just this really soft, foamy consistency. When it's wet and it dries to like a hard foam, like a polystyrene, it holds a fair bit of detail. You can see you can like stretch it out. Apparently it's used to make slime, but it's also like a great sculpting tool. I was just talking to someone on my Discord, which you can find the link to down in the video description. My friend Lindsay, who needs some grips for her paintbrushes. So I've got some cheapy paintbrushes here that I don't recall exactly why I got these. Maybe it was just a test. Anyway, I figured I could use these cheapy dollar store paintbrushes to try to experiment with making grips. So here we go. I'm going to experiment with making grips, and then I'm going to maybe see about what I can do as far as sculpting some fungi. So that could be a really big grip, and if you have issues with you're having trouble with how you hold your brushes, just the act of like holding them like this, and I've already made myself a little grip that fits my hand specifically. So this stuff is really great. It would be really easy if you have some issue that's making it difficult for you to hold a paintbrush. Usually you can just make a little grip with that. In fact, maybe I'll make a video of that, like a proper video showing how to do that, because this seems like it might actually be really practical for a lot of people. I do sometimes get swelling in my fingers, but so far I haven't had too much trouble holding brushes, but if you do, that's a thing you can use. So yeah. And then I have this big piece of very covered in lichen birch bark, and I'm going to see about what I can do as far as forming some lichens and fungi out of this material. I think it might be a little bit too difficult to work in life size, but I can probably make some things that are just a little bit larger. At some point I tried to get a research grant to try to explore some sculpture things with this, and fortunately that didn't pan out, but You know what? I might put a pad under here. Moment. Hello. Hi, Stephen. So I don't know if you caught the very beginning of this, but I have, I was chatting with a few people over on Discord. Lindsay has had some issues with her hands. You're back. Just gotta wash a dish or two. That sounds great. I have so many dishes to do. Anyway, and she was talking about building grips for her brushes. So actually, I am just gonna grab a couple of these brushes. I feel like maybe this is a size I might use, and I'm just gonna make myself a little hand grip for this. And then I'll leave that be and I'll let that dry. In fact, I'm gonna move this out of the way and set up a backdrop, and then I'll make this into an edited video as well. Because I think this might actually be something that's useful for more than just yeah, okay. One moment. Da 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 da. And then I can record this. And then I can reuse it for an edited video, because I have this bad habit of making edited videos that are way too complicated. Boy! And difficult to edit and take up too much of my time. When in fact, there's a whole bunch of stuff that I could just record. So, we're gonna do something a little bit simpler today. What's going on here? That sounded worse than it was. That was just a little bowl crashing down, and it didn't actually break. I just had a little bowl with some, yeah. Anyway, here we go. One flattened desk pad, and then I'm going to change this so that I can record. Let me record. Where's my OBS? Start recording. Okay. So, put this over here. So I have this stuff. And then let me grab a variety of different brushes. Brushes. I want a variety of brushes. So then we'll do one of these, and one of these. And I'll take the price tag off of that. Well, price tag isn't wanting to come off. One moment. Hello, hello people, hello, welcome. Do I have a Lindsay here? I feel like I discussed this with Lindsay and then Lindsay had to run off to go take care of a dog, which is totally valid. She has an adorable dog named Charlie. And he needs to go walkies. My dog also needs to go walkies, but my husband's going to take care of that. It's okay, I needed to get moving. I was feeling quite stir crazy. I wanted to paint, but I couldn't because my own hands were too itchy. Anyway, today I'm gonna do two things. Sorry. First, I'm peeling a price tag off of a Rosemary & Co. brush. So I want to do a 4. So let's see. Back to my live stream. Where's my live stream? There's my live stream. Okay. Oh, and then there was this one that also had a price tag on it. Gotta take that off. Okay. So, I have 4 different brushes here. 2 are some fairly nice, oh, this price tag is still partially on there, okay. 2 of them are some fairly nice Rosemary & Co. brushes that are in my regular rotation, and one of them is the Synthetic Squirrel, I think, by somebody. I don't even know what brand of brush this is and where I got it. And this one is a very, very cheap dollar store brush. because I kind of just wanted to show that this works with any kind of brush. And then actually the last one I'm going to use, so I'm going to make 5 of these. The last one I'm going to use is this Red Dot Rosemary & Co. It's a big brush. And yeah, so I'm going to try making some grips for my brushes. So that's my first order of business on this live stream. So what I'm going to use is this foam clay. Apparently used for making slime, cosplay items, figures. I was introduced to this actually as a child. This is an off-brand, but it's frequently sold by Crayola as Model Magic. Crayola Model Magic is probably the most common brand name for this stuff. And it's an air dry clay, but rather than being based on a clay material, it's this foamy stuff, and so it dries to like a dense styrofoam. And when it's wet, it's really quite pliable, quite easy, soft to work with. It doesn't really leave a residue on my hands. This is quite nice. I'm gonna just wrap this around, and I'm going to sort of try a bunch of different ways of rolling this. Let's see. And then if I just throw some, so how am I going to hold this brush? So I just figure out, no, well, first I'm just going to pull this off because I don't think I did this quite how I wanted to. Let's try this again. So first I'm just going to make a little ball. Then I'm going to flatten it out into a bit of a roll thing over on my desk pad here. Then I'm just going to flatten that out. And I'm going to try a bunch of different ways of making little brush holders. And I think the neat thing about this is if you have a very specific challenge that you're facing with holding a brush, which seems to be pretty common. I mean, luckily my particular problems seem to not have been this, but if I just, so if I just roll this out, oh, and then that has made a bit more of an opening than I really want in here. So if I make this just a little bit, just experimenting with this, huh? Okay, actually, this one, I'm going to do something very different. I'm going to make a long sort of spiral around it. I don't really want to flatten them. So then the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go grab my brush holder. I got this lovely handmade brush holder. So my husband made me this lovely brush holder, and I'm going to use it to hold my brushes after I make some little grips for them. Yeah. This will be a real nice edited video once I edit it. For now, it's just me fooling around on live stream. Let's see. So if I take this largest piece and I just roll around and roll around, roll around, Ooh, that looks neat. So I can have something that looks kind of neat like that. I can squish it down. Nope, that's not how I want to do it. But you can see that it's actually quite easy to experiment with, play with. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure I have a nice clean surface. And I'm just going to make a long snake with this. Because I want to try a bunch of different shapes of grips for this. So the first order of business with these brush grips is the first order of business, the first thing I'm doing with this air dry clay is I am going to make some brush grips, so a bunch of different ways of holding brushes. Okay, so there's that, and I can remove the excess, and then I can just take this and just wrap this around. So I do want to point out, like, this is going to collect any kind of nonsense that's on my pad in my studio here. Bye! Sorry, my husband's leaving with my dog. I'm going to have this nice and long. So this one's going to be kind of the most ridiculous of the brush grips. And the neat thing about this is if I don't like it after the fact, I can also just cut it off. But here, I'm just going to put this here. So this has a really nice long brush grip. It doesn't look like any particular, it's not, you know, this isn't adapted to any particular hand. This is just a wrapped coil. So I'm going to do a bunch of different styles and see which ones work best. So I'm going to move that forward just a little. It's a little bit more in screen. Then I'm going to do the same sort of long coil, but I'm going to flatten it, and then I'm going to roll it out. So I don't really have much in the way of tools for this. I thought I got some, but I don't know what I did with them, because I bought this stuff like months ago, and then a whole bunch of my own health issues happened, which weren't really brush grip related, but this is a thing that has occurred to me as like, oh well, sometimes my hands bother me. Like even today I didn't have my scheduled live stream at the regular time because my hands were bothering me. No, my hands were just kind of itchy. They didn't really seem particularly swollen. But I have wondered. Nope. Okay. What if I try there and there and there and there and there, there and there and there, and if I just form this by rolling? Well, I don't know that I really like this form. Let's try that again. Let's try that a different way. That didn't work out so well. Oh, look, now this is all greased onto my... Yeah, so it does have like, it's not greasy, but it does have like this sort of sticky consistency when it's wet, but it does come off pretty readily. It does just stick a tiny bit to whatever you're wrapping it onto, which I guess is probably nice. I wonder if I rolled something like I could probably put this on something of a similar thickness, but like wrapped in a foil or a plastic wrap or something, so that I could then slide it off and then apply a brush grip. Let's see. Okay, what if I do this? Right. I'm just going to take this, I'm going to take a little bit more of this stuff, and I'm going to close up this bag because I can actually feel the stuff that's been out for a little bit longer. It's a little bit harder. It's actually a little bit nicer. Like I find it's a tiny bit too soft when it's just out of the bag. I'm going to break this into two. So the first bit I want to make just, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna just make a little, I don't like how it's gripping onto there. Like I don't think it's a functionally an issue. I feel like I would like the look more if it was, whatever, if it didn't have that little stretched section. So I'm just gonna roll around that in here. Can I, maybe if I zoom out, is there a zoom out option? I'm gonna zoom out just by moving up and out, and then I will, sorry, go check this in OBS. And where's my directly underneath? Where are you? Where are you? Come on. Oh, all the way over there, huh? Okay. There we go. Aha, much better. Okay, what if I do this? Move this over here. And go just by so I can, there we go. This has much more on one side than the other. So clearly I'm not much of a sculptor, but I'm just trying to make some grips for this. You don't need to be a great sculptor, just need to figure out whatever. Now how would I hold this brush? If I wanted to hold this brush and I just couldn't squeeze down, maybe if I just had my fingers like this. Yeah, that's nice. So if I just sort of play my fingers in, yep, so that just goes there, and that's gonna allow me to hold the brush in one particular position that is particularly fitted to my fingers, right? So you can see I've left my finger marks in here. So this is particularly fitted to my fingers. There we go. Okay, so that's there, and I'm just going to put that down in one of these spots, and I'm going to make a different one. But that's not what I wanted. Here we go. Hello, welcome people. I'm just experimenting with some Model Magic or foam clay. Not name brand Crayola Model Magic, but clay of that type to make some accessibility grips for some art tools. So I'm working on some brushes, and then I'll probably do some pencils as well, pens, and then after that I'm going to leave those to dry in my little paint rack here, and then I'm going to probably try to sculpt some mushrooms or lichen. Do I tend to use just one grip? I don't tend to use grips on my brushes at, oh, sorry, like in terms of how I hold my brushes? No. I feel like I alternate between like 2 to 3, where I will tend to, if I'm doing something very detailed, I will tend to choke up a little bit more and have like a bit more of a folded up sort of grip. To be honest, this is a real pain for editing video, because if you go back through some of my videos, there is the occasional comment about my painting grip, or especially my drawing grip, where if I'm sketching, I tend to fall into this bizarre grip where it lies against my pinky finger and my other fingers all sort of fold up in this bizarre way, which is, I know, not a great shape for fingers. Fingers aren't supposed to do this. I have a hypermobility condition, so my joints are all held together by muscle rather than by ligaments. My ligaments are not very strong. They tend to be quite lax. And so this really shows up in my fingers. This can get really painful over time, which is part of why I've switched, I think, a lot more to painting than when I started out. I did a lot of more drawing and like colored pencil and graphite and stuff. And that tends to lead to pushing more on the paper. So if anything, even when I do draw, I draw with ink, and I do try to draw with like more free-flowing ink. So rather than something like a ballpoint pen, which I do enjoy, like ballpoint pen can be really fun. But if I'm going to do any extended amount of drawing or sketching, it actually works better for me to use a fountain pen or something like a really wet, free-flowing roller ball, because that requires less pressure on the paper, and the pressure on the paper tends to lead to me choking up and folding my fingers back. So when I'm painting though, if I am painting something more detailed, I'll tend to sort of fold my fingers up a little bit more and choke up on the end, whereas if I'm painting more loosely, or I'm trying to paint more loosely, I will hold my brush further back and more of a flat sort of hold. And again, I try to remind myself to do that. So that is actually part of why I'm playing with different grips here, because I feel like depending on the brush and depending on how I paint, I may want to hold my brush differently. This is the sort of thing that might actually help me to have some grips to like keep my hands from collapsing into bad folded up positions. Yeah, it may be worth experimenting with, and this is part of why I think it might be nice to make this into an edited video, which is why this is sort of a pain in the butt as I, you know, move things around and pose things for the sake of being able to edit this into something coherent afterwards. Because not everyone... Thank you for joining me for all of my rambly live stream, Stephen, but my viewership, my analytics say that most people do not want to sit around for 3 hours while I fiddle with things and shove things off screen and ramble. So if I want to edit this into something short and consumable, then... Right, so if I wanted to move this further back, say, oh boy, that is quite the greasy mess. It's not greasy. Like, I want to be clear. I say greasy because it almost feels like oily, but then it doesn't stay oily. Like on your fingers, it doesn't leave a long-term residue. It feels kind of wet, like kind of like, I guess it's like a, it must be like an aloe or something, like a, not aloe, sorry, what's the synthetic one? Like a glycerin, like it's like, it feels a little bit thicker than water, like an oily sort of feeling, but it's not oily because it doesn't stay oily on your hands. Anyway, yeah, so if I take this and I make this into a... Oh, what if I make this... Ooh. What if I do this thing, but I do it the other direction? I'm gonna do this on another one of these brushes, like one of these big brushes, because I feel like these ones don't, or actually this one, I probably want to make a grip further back, and probably a more substantial grip that will allow me to hold it sort of more loosely, like something more like this, where I'm just sort of hinting at things. A lot of DIY air dry clay use baby oil or lotion added, so maybe it's something like that. Do you mean like slime recipes? Hi, Lana. I'm lurking and trying to research how to sew curtains. What is the challenge with sewing curtains? Curtains are mostly a square piece of fabric. I guess there's concerns about how you're fastening them at the top, like if you're doing tabs or hooks or something. I'm curious. What curtains are you making? I recently got a sewing machine. So right now it's just sitting as a plant stand downstairs because I don't have space to live my life, apparently. I want them to be height adjustable or length adjustable. Oh, like Roman blind type things? Like, are we talking like two different lengths, or like a continuous, like a roller blind or a Roman shade or something? Sorry. Anonymous says a lot of DIY air dry clay recipes use baby oil or lotion. To be honest, I haven't looked into this a lot. Are there like air dry clay? Are these like air dry clay recipes for sculpting, or is this more like a slime sort of thing? Because I know that these things say like, oh, you can use it to make slime, presumably by adding something like oil or lotion or something. I don't think it's oil, because again, like there's like, you feel a sort of like a wetness or sort of residue a little bit on your hands after you've been like messing with it, but it goes away within seconds. Like I can no longer feel it on this hand. So I would think that it's something more like glycerin. Like it's a lubricant that thickens the water base, but just evaporates out. So there's like a water or an alcohol, it's a glycol something, that just evaporates right out, rather than an oil that sticks around. To be honest, I'm big on the concept of DIY. We DIY a lot of our home stuff. You know, we designed and built our own kitchen and our washroom. As far as DIYing for like my art supplies, I mean, I've made paint. But largely, I feel, this is largely a lot of DIY things. It's like, well, yes, I could make them, but like, then that's another project. I have too many hobbies. Really, if I want something like an air-dry clay, I'm probably happier to just pay someone else to make the air-dry clay, and then I just do the sculpting. So that's not really something that I've looked into too much. No, air-dry clay also similarly DIY. It's cornstarch or flour. Ah, yes, okay, so this is, right. If I look at what the ingredients, I think this had ingredients. Anyway, I think this is like a, probably like some kind of a plasticky base. Anyway, I don't know how easy this would be to make with like common household ingredients. But it's definitely used then, like, as, you know, you mix this with a bunch of other stuff and you make a slime, which is, you know, fun if you're into making slime. Yeah, this dries into like a styrofoamy stuff. It's great. Love it. Okay, anyway, so this one, oh, and I keep putting this like at like a pencil grip point on these, but I actually want to put this one a little bit further back. Two types of commercial air dry clay. One is the papery with fibery, one that dry to stone clay. Yes, so this is a third kind. So this doesn't have this isn't a paper clay, and this isn't a stone clay. This is like some kind of like, I would assume that it's got some plasticky base. I don't know. I think I did look it up when I was researching what to buy, because my experience with this was when I was, I don't know, 8 or 12 or so, like preteen. One of my mom's best friends, he came to stay, so he had moved to Australia, or Vanuatu. Now he's in Australia, and met his wife, and they came to stay with us in Canada for a month, maybe 2 months. They were around for a while, and they stayed with us at my family's house. And his wife is really creative, really, you know, artsy, DIY. And she went and got us, just out of curiosity, I think it had only recently been released, or we didn't know about it, Crayola Model Magic. And just to play with, like, it's this air dry clay, and it feels really soft. It's like a soft putty consistency when it's like almost a slime, when it's wet, and then when it dries to like a thick foam, like a polystyrene, like a styrofoam, but like denser. And so it's never like rock hard. It's never like a clay, and it doesn't have the fibers in it like a paper clay. And it's much, much more lightweight. And the really cool thing about it is it dries pretty quickly. It doesn't really have much of a smell. And when it dries, it's this paintable, like, lightweight foam, but it holds a lot of detail. Like, I'm doing these fairly simple things. Next up, I'm gonna try to do something a little bit more detailed. And anyway, so we did that. We built some little like puppets or something with it, like little stick puppets. And then I forgot about it for a number of years. And then like maybe 10 years later, when I was like in my late teens or early 20s, but still living with my parents, we had moved to a different house. And down the street from my house was this business that had popped up that was, they did like children's parties and like events and stuff where they would build things out of this air dry clay. And they'd popped up like, there were artists at this point that were doing like really detailed like fantasy creature sculpting out of model magic. So again, very cool. And we popped in there, we got some more of the clay things. I did some stuff with my younger siblings a couple of times. I think we did, it was a sort of place like, kind of like, pottery painting sort of thing, where it's like, oh, this is an activity you can pay, drop in and do. Good night. Sorry, I'm just playing with this. It is really nice. It feels really nice in the hands. And I've got a hair stuck in this. Ew. But yeah, so again, sort of dropped off the radar. And then I was thinking about how to expand my botanical art practice. I've been painting a lot of like ecosystem paintings, sort of tree bark ecosystems and stuff, and I feel like one thing that's kind of limiting is this two-dimensional, like this is flat on a wall, and how could I build things how could I, create representations that are somewhat more interactive, somewhat more either touchable or 3D or something, break that fourth wall. Or third wall, as the case may be. So then I got some of this stuff. So like, I'd seen it a few times here and there, but like not really ever done much serious with it. And then I got this stuff a few months ago and have been intending to do some experimenting, see if I can, incorporate some kind of sculpting into my artwork. Okay, so what do I want? I want a thinner portion and then some thicker portions on the end. All right, let's try that. So I'm going to make something a little bit wider, but thinner. So if I do this and I wrap this around here. I do that, and then I take these and I make a thicker edge to the two ends, like so. And, oh, get another That looks real interesting right there. My goodness. Does it? Okay. I didn't make that channel, and I honestly, I only ever look at it when I'm posting stuff. I had a co-op that made that. Okay, well, I will fix it later. Okay, I'll fix it right after this. All right, so I'm trying to do like a barbell sort of shape here. Nope, that does not feel right. Maybe if I stretch it a little. Stretchy, stretchy. That does not look right. That does not look right. Oh my goodness, that does not look right. Nope. Nope, that was a bad idea. We're not doing that. Okay. So anyway, a little bit of experimenting. So if I just have a big sort of grip around here, and then I do it, make it more pointed along the end, make it more, yeah, okay. And if I want to make it so that I can just hold this right towards the end and just like, yeah, I just want to be able to make some really loose sort of shape. So I'm just going to press my fingers in just a little so that there's a nice, easy place for my fingers to rest. La, 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 la. Yeah, like that. And then I'm gonna give myself a little bit more of the divots here, a little bit more of the divots here. Yeah, so it's interesting, the kind of flattened, like, that's gonna be over there, that's gonna be over there. I'm gonna give myself a little bit more room. Yeah. Oh, I don't. Okay, so I was gonna do this, but then I realized I can't really sit it up here. So what if I just push this way? Well, that doesn't look so bad. Okay, I do this. And push this way. And remove this. That's not bad, yeah. So then I've got this. So this will keep this from like slipping around in my fingers. I'm gonna put this down here. Also, if you have acrylic paint, you can mix it directly in the foam clay to color it if you want. I guess I do have acrylic paint. Alright, fine, I'll do that. I hate the E. I hate the way acrylic paint dries, so I'm a little bit hesitant to do this, but sure, I guess this, I may as well use this for something. So we can use some green acrylic paint to make a green grip. There. Just use a little bit. Okay, one little bit. Like this. Oh boy. Oh, there's acrylic paint on my hands. So I am incredibly messy. Like, just, I'm a messy person. And so truth is, it's like, well, I would like to make artwork that isn't just a complete mess. And I would like my house to not just have paint stains everywhere. Oh boy. So therefore I avoid, oh boy, yay, I've got acrylic on my hands, yucky. Okay. Don't love that, not loving that. I'm gonna have to go wash my hands. But, you're right, yep, that did make green slime. Do I have an eye on the weather? Yes, it's broiling hot out right now. We did have some, like a sudden downpour earlier in the day, and we are expecting thunderstorms later in the day, which should be nice. Yesterday was lovely. Well, what particular weather are you asking about? Oh no, it's fine. I was expecting that. It's unusual actually for me to have acrylic. It's like once every 5 years or something I have some project that requires me to use acrylic. So in this case I did a picnic table public art thing for the city, and the way that commission worked, you know, I needed to get my own materials. So I got a smallish selection of acrylic paint, and obviously didn't use all of it in the painting, so I do have some extra acrylic paint that I haven't managed to offload to anyone just yet, sitting in my studio. But there's a reason why I don't like acrylic paint, and it's because, again, I use watercolor. Partially it's a like recognition that I'm gonna make a mess of whatever I work with, but if I use watercolor, then the mess is, you know, less. It's contained. And if I don't wash my brushes, then they're not ruined, and if, yeah. So, I'm gonna need to wash my hands before this properly dries on, but then I will come make a grip out of this. One moment. Yeah, it's like sunny and 28 degrees in Kitchener right now. We've had some really nasty weather the last few days. Like yesterday was nice, but starting on Monday we had like Sunday or Monday we had like, you know, 40-degree humidex. That's 40-degree Celsius, like 100 something humidex. If you're American and use Fahrenheit. Okay. All right. So let's see. If I take this and I make me No, I want to make a different kind of grip for this one. Let's make a... So I've done some that are like, you know, this is where my hand goes, and I'll make another one of those, but I also just want to do some that are like a little bit less, oh, I've got gunk getting mixed into my stuff here. Okay. So the downside of my house being what it is, we have a lot of construction going on. So the dust builds up, and we've got big piles of stuff in different rooms. Make it really difficult to vacuum. So there's construction dust, and then I also have two very fluffy animals. My husband is out seeing if we're going to add a third. So yesterday, while we were walking home, I have a community garden sort of plot. It's not actually a community garden. It's a plot in a neighbor's yard that's like an unofficial community garden. Alright. Anyway, as we were walking home, we met one of our neighbors who was trying to persuade a neighborhood cat to leave her property. And this was just the sweetest little cat. Came up to Jordan and started licking, so clearly raised by dogs. We had Ember with us, so I have an 80-pound sled dog mix dog, who, like, she looks giant. Even at 80 pounds, like, she looks like she's 100 or more. She's very tall and scrawny, but tall and very, very fluffy. And so, anyway, I have this big dog, and this cat walks right up to the dog, and my dog is, she loves cats, usually. We have a cat who she loves, but she is rightfully afraid of our cat, who bullies her, and has in recent months met one other neighborhood cat who tried to hunt her down. So she's a little bit afraid of cats, and so this cat, she sat down to greet. She was very happy, very whatever, and then when the cat came up to her, she ran behind me and then made a little snarly face from, like, hiding behind me, like, don't come at me. And the cat came at her anyway. Not aggressively, just like, oh, are you friend? And Ember alternated between, like, quietly making little snarls and also just, like, this submissive little, like, the cat came up to her and sniffed her, and she licked the cat in the face. Cat was totally fine. Cat continued to, like, bump up against us and roll around and show his belly, or show her belly. Like, she was just this, like, sweetest little cat, clearly raised by dogs, clearly well taken care of. So we didn't, like, we assume that this is probably somebody's cat from up the street who just escaped at some point and will go back home, but we couldn't find, like, wasn't wearing a collar, we couldn't find a microchip, and we haven't seen this cat before, so we're like, it's not a known, like, oh, this belongs to this neighbor, but just based on how well taken care of it was, it really didn't seem like this is a street cat, so we didn't kidnap it. But Jordan's gone out to take Ember out, and he said, you know, if I find this cat again, eventually, if we keep seeing it, we will, in fact, just take it and report to the Humane Society and maybe acquire a second cat. I'm trying to see whether I can just, let's see, here's some. Okay, what if I then roll this around? Oh, roll this around, yeah. Roll the thing. And I guess I could probably try like adding some texture detail or something. Anyway, so what was the point of that? We have two very fluffy animals at home, a cat and a dog, and maybe about to acquire a third. We also have a whole bunch of construction, so our house is piled up with stuff and we keep making more construction dust. And so there's just a whole bunch of dust, which, you know, even if at the best of times I was great at vacuuming, which I am not, under the circumstances, things collect. Okay, so if I make this relatively smooth, yes, relatively smooth, like this, looks all right. And then I don't know, add some little details to either end. Like maybe if I just add some little edging. Oh, edging. Yeah, okay, so once it's mixed in properly, it's not staining my hands anymore. So we'll see. Maybe Jordan will come back partway through this live stream and I'll have a second cat. It was a very sweet cat. Very, very sweet. Okay, well, that looks like a grip. I can grip it however. Sure. Whatever. We'll call that done. Okay, now I have a little bit more of this green stuff, and I will make a grip for this one. Maybe another one of these hand-shaped grips, and one that's a little bit closer to the front. Oh, maybe I can do, oh, that's cool. I'm gonna try to swirl it with some of the white. How do I do this? What if I want it like this, and then like this, and so I'm just gonna try to have some portions that are mixed, and some portions that are just the white, and some portions that are just the green. That's innovation right there. Sure, innovation. Thank you for suggesting the paint. I assumed that there probably was some kind of paint that I could just mix right in, but I wasn't sure what that was. And this was a very, very, very impromptu live stream. Oh, well, I want this to have more of the mix. I want it to be more mixed. How do I make this look more mixed? So I just let that sit, let my fingers sort of sink in and form a shape. That seems like probably the best way to make, you know, useful finger grips. But that looks pretty cool. I like that one. Okay. All right, so that's my pencil, my pen grips. Unless somebody has some other suggestions for like what kind of tool grips might be useful, I'm probably just gonna leave those there, and then try to, I don't know, make some fungi, make some, oh my goodness. There's stuff in the, okay, I'll just put that over there. I'm gonna close this up for a moment and go grab myself some water because I'm parched. I'll be right back. Actually, better yet, I have some fizzy water that I want. Ta-da! Okay. Alright, so that's my pencil grips, and now we're going to see about sculpting some mushroomies. So, I have some absurd bits of lichen, and that is maybe a stretch goal, because I think for right now I'm going to go for something a little bit simpler. I could have sworn I had some clay tools that I'd gotten specifically for this. But I think that I'm going to just, do some mushrooms. I'm going to try those. So I got you'll notice that there's a, on my thumbnail for this video, I have some, where'd it go? Come on, Canva. Some little mushrooms. What are those little white buttons? I feel like they have a name that I've forgotten. Because they're not white button mushrooms. But they, whatever. I'm gonna sculpt some. I'm gonna sculpt some little mushrooms, and I'll see how that goes. La, la, la. I said lichens, but I probably was not going to ever do lichens. Okay, so if I make a whole bunch of little are those oyster mushrooms? No, oyster mushrooms are something else. Oyster mushrooms. Types of edible mushrooms. Let's see. Enoki mushrooms. Okay, so I am going to try making some enoki mushrooms out of this stuff. Yes? Yes, that's what I'm making. I'm making enoki mushrooms. Oh, you know what? Okay. I'm going to make some enoki mushrooms, but I am going to use a tiny bit of acrylic paint on some of this to make it slightly yellow. Very, very slightly yellow. That's my plan. But just the tiniest bit, like that. There we go. So that is much less than what I put in the other one. And so hopefully this will just make it very, very slightly yellow. This might be more yellow than I wanted it to be. But it's slightly more yellow than I wanted it to be. Okay, well, that's okay. Also, it didn't get too much over my hands, which is nice. We're happy about that. Okay. That is slightly more yellow than I really wanted it to be, but that's okay. I'm just gonna add some more of the white. Yeah, so it blends in really, really fast, which is what I needed to make sure I wasn't letting happen with that other one over there, with that, sorry, swirled grip. They're very tasty in soups. Yes, enoki mushrooms I think are one of the few, so I love mushrooms like as a concept. I wish I was really into mushrooms because like I want to be a mushroom forager, but the truth is like most of the time when I eat mushrooms it's like kind of forcing myself a little. It is still more yellow than I really ideally wanted it to be. Okay, I'm going to split this into two. So one part is going to be this yellow. One part I'm gonna mix into, I'm gonna go grab some, yeah, I think I'm gonna go grab some sandwich bags so that I can separate out the parts that I'm not using right now as I work through this. Because I think the base of these is often a little bit more yellow, and then the caps are more white, so I'm gonna have one, I'm gonna go like 4 different colors, I think. So I have some these. This one I'm going to add a little bit more white too. Yeah. Like half again. Ta-da! Over here. And then these ones, I'm going to add even more white. Da-da-da. More. And then I'll take all of this and this little, so this is like probably the color I was aiming for initially, but because I've got at this point multiple colors, I think what I'm going to do is that the caps are often like very, very nearly pure white, but pure white can look a little stark. So I'll take this, and that's probably what most of it is going to be, but for the very top caps, I'm actually going to go even whiter. So this, then I can, yeah, so I can make some lovely little enoki mushroom sculptures. This will be fun. And then maybe I can make another video out of this. Yeah. I really need to stabilize my video process so I can outsource it. I had a lovely co-op who was going to do that for me, but I didn't really get enough training in time during the co-op period to really make sense for me to hire someone. I've also had Ev, who's another creator on YouTube, Ev Bold, who edited one video for me, and she did a really great job. But it turns out that for that to be worth it, I really need to, again, get some more, be a little bit more prepared about my video process. Like for example, my last video, I ended up editing some new stuff to add, or recording some new footage as I was editing. Like it's a mess. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, yes. Anyway, yes, these are very tasty in soups. I do like these little, they're one of the mushrooms that I actually enjoy. Not just like I really do wish that I was more of a mushroom eater. Very, very much. Okay, so they have these little heads. This one is probably one of the larger ones. Oh, I need it to be a little bit smoother. There we go. And I can just sort of, boop, stick that down. Let's see, let's look at more pictures of enoki mushrooms. Oh, that's interesting. They grow, as they grow, they get more of a traditional like mushroom cap, but I guess they're frequently sold very young. Very, very, ooh, golden enoki. Those look good. Yummy. Okay, so some of them have more of a cap. So like more of this shape. And I am going to make them a little bit more mature just so that I can include some of those. What does the underside of an enoki cap look like? Oh, they do have little gills. Okay, how am I going to make little gills? This is where I would need a tool. And I thought I had tools for this, but then I don't know what I did with them. take this and then I can start embossing little gills into this. Well, that's cool. Yep, so this, and let's see, a really tiny one maybe. Yeah, it's really, really tiny, even tinier, or even tinier. So if I take let's see some stems for this. Oh, but I wanted the stems to be done in one of the somewhat darker things, like this one. Okay, so if I use this one, I put this, oh, and yeah, that has a little bit of a, so that I make a little bit of a indent. Use the back of a brush, boop, 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 boop. And then I add just a little bit of gill texture here. Yeah, okay. And then I put this one over here and I give it, nope, not that. Where's my, there we go. Look at that! Those look great. Okay, I'm just gonna set them up a bit against the edge of this here. Ah! No, don't fold over. You sit here. You sit there. Yeah, you sit there. Okay, and then I give you a little bit more of this. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna make some more caps because that's starting to look great. And I think I can just make a nice little cluster of them. And that'll be fun. Make a nice little cluster of enoki mushrooms that I'm gonna, I don't know. What I need is more tiny decorative items. Ha ha ha. See you in 15 minutes if you are still on. Yeah, I'll probably still be on. I think this is gonna take me like an hour. But my antihistamines are finally working, so I can do this without dying. Ah! Okay. Okay. Look at that. Look at that. So I can make this bit, it's a little bit more of a mushroom cap shape. It turns out this is what enoki mushrooms grow into. They don't stay in that little round head configuration forever. How are we doing on Discord? Okay, so that's gonna go there, and then I need more of these guys. Guys, look at this! Oh my goodness, I'm so happy! Because this all just, like, I can just stretch these out and they're just all gonna join up at the bottom. make a little cluster that they grow out of. I'm just going to keep on adding to this. I can add some different variation of color so it actually looks all like, oh man, this is so much better than I thought I would manage this first attempt. Oh boy, okay, so yeah, we're just gonna let that sit and sort of melt into that support a little bit. An enoki bouquet, right? It's adorable. I love it. This is fun. Okay, so that there, and then I'm going to grab an extra, slightly darker bit. Slightly darker. Just put that there. Oh, that's gonna need to join up over here. Yeah, okay. Okay, yep. Mm-hmm. Let's see, maybe if I do another one of these somewhat bigger mushroom cappy ones. And maybe if I take some of the darkest of these yellows, and I add some to the bottom of this cap. Oh, look at that. Nope, okay, we're just gonna. Then I would like really need very, very little in the way of painting over top to really make it look quite realistic. I am rather impressed with this. This is quite neat. Okay, so if I just yeah, let's make some gills. Yeah, gills, 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 gills. So how's everyone else's day, week, summer going? Then if I take this and I give it another one of these deeper yellow stems. Okay, oh, let's line this one up like that so I can add another one below. That there. Give it that. Okay. Yes. It is like a little enoki bouquet. If I just give it a really tall and small one, go all the way up there. And I'll give this another really yellow stem. I'll put that all the way up here, all the way up there. I can just lean this up here for a moment. It's maybe a little too yellow. I'm gonna need to blend it out with some other ones. Okay, well that's cool. Oh, no, I don't want this to be too, yeah, we'll just have to keep on rotating it around so it doesn't get too crushed in any one direction. hair stuck here. I don't like the little hair stuck here. Get lost, little hair. Get lost. Lost. I see I'm still going. Yes, I am still going. I found a thing that is keeping me occupied. It's new and different, so it's exciting. Making my little enoki bouquet here. And so then I'm going to put that right over. I want that one nice and high. I want that one like perched over here. Yeah. And then I want a really skinny stem. Really, really skinny stem. I feel like if I wanted these to be more self-supporting, that probably I should start looking at, oh boy. Oh, no, not like that. Okay. Like I want this, yeah, I want this to be over here, but I want it to be really, really, really skinny. No, okay, that's, well, that's something. That's really not, that's gonna need to be covered up because that's not continuous. I imagine there's a way to do this with like a wire armature to make this a little bit more reliable, but what I wanted was I wanted there to be a gap there, you know? So you can see underneath the mushroom a little bit, depending on which angle you're looking from. But I'm gonna need to put another mushroom underneath because this is not very, very stable. Anyway, this one can have just a regular little cap here. Yep, just a regular little cap. We're gonna let that go over here, that go over there. And I'm gonna give it no, I don't want you to go fall into the other one. I want you to be nice and thin. There we go. There we go. I'm gonna put that there, put this here. Let's give you a little bit more yellow. Oh, what's going on? So how was your week, Stephen? Or your last like 3 weeks, because I haven't been streaming. So I haven't got up with you. Oh my goodness, you're so loud. Why are you so loud? Why little boy so loud? Hmm? You're here to deposit cat fluff all over my studio? The dog told you that she's off getting another cat? Let's see. Yep, clearly I have very exciting Friday nights. Very active social life, you see. Nice, yes. Look at that. It's great. I'm so happy with this. Oh my goodness. was not expecting this level of success. Okay, I'm gonna angle this because my light is changing and this is looking pretty stark. You're too loud, little cat. You are, you're too loud. Too loud. Too loud. Okay, I'm actually going to shut off my video recording. I'm still streaming though, just removing the recording because I really, really wanted to record myself making the hand grips so that I can, if they work out well, make a video about them, like an edited video. But okay, so I think I've decided that this is just going to be the front-ish, and so I'm gonna just keep working on this, and it can just lie down like that or be flat against a surface or something. Yeah, I can make another one of the bigger capped ones. Sorry. Da, 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 da. Where are we? Okay, here we go. To get going, but thank you for the stream. You can make a fridge magnet. Yeah, this would make a good fridge magnet. I will absolutely consider that. Yeah, thank you. Ooh, like maybe on like a wood backing. That would be kind of neat, huh? Yeah. All right. Well, maybe I will record this then. And yeah. Anyway, thank you. Yes. Thanks for joining. This was fun. Yeah, I'm just gonna put a few more of these on. Might as well just stay on stream. But yeah, thanks for joining. That was great. You're always welcome. I try to stream most Fridays. It's been tough recently for weather and construction next door reasons. It's been really loud here a lot of the times. It's been difficult to stream during my regular stream hours. I usually try for Friday afternoons. But I've long ago stopped promising things because I have some chronic illness that just isn't terribly predictable. But Lee, do you have a favorite mix for indigo? Daniel Smith uses PB60 plus black. My PB60 might be too green for that. I use PB60 plus an orange, like plus a neutralizing red or orange to make a black. And if I put more PB60 than I put orange, then it turns into a darker indigo. So I'd say probably that would be my suggestion. Although to be honest, I don't often use, like indigo is often used as a, you know, a base shadow color. So I don't often like pre-mix an indigo and then apply it as that. I also have gotten a lot more relaxed about light fastness. So to be honest, there are cases where I just use indigo, like I just use indigo. I mean, I've gotten a lot more relaxed about light fastness. I've also gotten a lot more relaxed recently about, gotten a lot more relaxed about, what was I saying? Pigments, like pigment mixes, which was always like, that's a thing I nerd out about, but in terms of actual painting, you know, I was somewhat obsessive because I was somewhat obsessive about light fastness. I think I was then somewhat obsessive about like, oh, do I make sure that I'm got, you know, that I know exactly what's in my paint, and that's easier to do if I know exactly what the mixes are when I start. I've gotten more relaxed about that. I'll make a video about it. In fact, that's along with this sculpting video that I've just signed up for, and a couple others. That's like on my, you know, next few weeks list, because I've got the footage for it. Yeah, so part of my answer is, if you want indigo, maybe use indigo. You can use like either a convenience mix or an actual, you know, indigo dye, and that is not going to be completely light fast, but does it matter? But yes, if you are looking to mix from existing paints that you have, that shade, when I want something that's like an almost black but on the blue side, I use usually a blue, usually PB60, and I mix it with a neutralizing orange, and I just less orange. It is more of an exercise than a big need to have an accurate mix. Yes, so in that case, what I do actually pretty frequently is I try to have, when I set up my palettes, I try to have most, if not all, of the paints in the palette have a neutralizing complement. I find that the easiest way to work with shadows and stuff, is to have lots of options for neutralizing complements, and so I usually pair a PB60 with a neutralizing orange. That would be something like a transparent orange, whether that's PO71 or PO107. Those are the two numbers, right? Yeah. And then yeah. That's about the most accurate summary. Sounds like Quiller. Yes, I have found that there's, I mean, like, maybe it's like these seasons of life thing, seasons of art career, where it's like you start out and you paint with whatever colors are in your palette because that's, you know, already overwhelming enough. And then you get more into your medium and you start nerding out about stuff like pigments and light fastness and mediums and, you know, paint properties and what have you, and then you get to a point where you're like, well, I just paint, and here's the paint in front of me. And there's a little bit of planning that comes sort of naturally, that it's no longer even conscious. Oh, no, that's too big. That's too big for being down there. I need it to be smaller. Okay. Jordan, did you bring me another cat? Anyway, Quiller being, oh, you know, having lots of years on me, I imagine has gone well past the nerding out about anything in particular. I have a similar feeling. Like I watch oh my goodness. How am I blanking on, like, favorite artists? James Gurney. And he's just moved on to, like, what is gouache even? Well, it's just watercolor and white. What is the, you know, where's the boundary between what's a watercolor, what's a gouache, what's a casein, what's a, like, he's aware of all of these things, and he's, you know, nerded out and tried them all and what have you, but he just uses mixes of everything. Because ultimately, it doesn't matter. My goal is to give fewer shits. Yeah, this is like a fridge magnet, isn't it? I've made myself a little enoki mushroom fridge magnet. That's cute. I will turn on my record here real quick again so that I can have some footage for if I choose to make a little short or something of this fridge magnet. I take it you did not bring me a second cat?
Nor did I bring you the tree I found.
Are
you still streaming?
I am.
Enjoy.
I'm making myself a little mushroom fridge magnet. You want to see?
Sure.
I'm going to need a slice of tree to back it with.
Slice of tree.
Yeah, so that...
Well, one of the trees at the park fell over.
Not the tree that we previously rated?
No. One of the ones over at...
I could embed a wee piece of strong magnet. I could, although I think what I'm actually going to do is let it dry and then just apply like glue it, super glue it onto a slice of tree so that it kind of looks like it's growing out of the tree. And then I'll stick some magnets to the back and then, I don't know, give it to a family member because my aunt was telling me that you know, she always thought that fridges with all sorts of kitsch on them were tacky until then, you know, grandchildren and suddenly you can't not have all the crap they give you. So, I mean, I can be one of the tacky grandchildren. I think she'll appreciate it.
Okay. Well,
and then it'll come back to me in not so long, and not so very long, because, you know, my grandmother's generation. Okay, I think I'm just about done. I'm just going to add one more little piece here, and then maybe one more over there. Maybe one more just right here too. Just little bitty ones. Alright, I think this is actually kind of the end for me as well. I was just doing one more little piece up here, but then I will just leave this to dry. and revisit it when it's dry. Okay, I think that's it for me. Oh, hi, Mom. I didn't see you were there. You were with me with Chiamita when she went on about the tat on her fridge. I think that her next gift for Christmas or whatever is gonna be a little fridge magnet, which, yes, I fully expect will be back to me and far too soon, but then it can live on my fridge. In the interim, I think I'm gonna give it to Chiamita. I think she'll enjoy it. Anyway, ciao.